Okay, guys, I'm going to go over what this all means, because to some of you, you may be going, what? So I don't want you to freak out. Don't freak out. It's okay. So we're going to talk about what this actually means and how to do this and how you're going to do this for yourself. So I want you to know that this week we're going to be dealing with sentence structure. So the first of those sentence structures is the easiest. So that's what we're going to start with today, which is the simple sentence. So a simple sentence is just that. It's only composed of a few parts. Simple sentences are used. Simple sentences are used when you have more complicated ideas or you have a younger audience. So I grew up, I'm going to tell you my age again. I grew up with Dick and Jane books. See Dick run. See Jane run.
30.
Yeah. Way into my 30s, like almost getting out of my 30s. So these books were simple because the focus was on acquiring the language, knowing the words. So we use simple sentences a lot when we have complicated ideas. A simple sentence is composed of a few different parts. So there are 3 examples listed here. These are not the only examples, but these are the easiest of those examples and the ones that you will see most often. So the first example here has one subject and one verb, and it has to make sense. So I always tell students, find the verb first. The verb is usually the easiest thing to identify. And you should have your do now sheet. This is what you're doing this on. Easton, eventually you're going to move up to this group for your novel. So whenever you decide to migrate this way.
He's in my group?
Nope, he's not in your group.
I'm just over here.
For now, until he moves over here.
Where's the novel?
I'm not going to tell you because I have you reading something different. I know you're super pumped by that. Okay, so we have one subject, we have one verb, and it has to make sense. So in this sentence, Sally went to the grocery store. What's the verb? What's the action? Went. Went is past tense of go. So Sally went to the grocery store. So if went is the verb, then who or what went? Sally. So Sally is our subject. Now if you say Sally went, people are going to think you're insane. So you have to add stuff to it. So this is the rest of the stuff that you have to add to help it make sense. Now another option for a simple sentence is to use 2 subjects with 1 verb. Again, it has to make sense. So Sally and Bob went to the grocery store. Which of these things do we find first? The subject, verb, or sentence? What do you find first? Find the verb first. It's the easiest. So it's going to be the action word. So what's the action in this sentence? Went. Now who or what went?
Sally and Bob.
Okay. Sally and Bob. Now just a quick tip for you guys. Oftentimes you're going to see questions on standardized tests that are structured such as this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have 5 options. And they may say, what is the subject of this sentence? Your options may be Sally and Bob, Sally, Bob, Sally, Bob, or all above. So have you ever seen a question like this where everything looks the same? What? They're all the same. But they're not. And this is what you have to pay really close attention to. So which of these answers can we eliminate? Which of these answers can we eliminate as the subject of the sentence?
5.
Okay. And why can we eliminate 5?
Because you just said they're not all the same.
Okay. So let's get back to that. Any that we can eliminate right away?
4,
Okay. Why 3 and 4?
because they're separate.
Okay. Sally is not the subject by herself. and neither is Bob. So 3 and 4 can be eliminated, which also means that 5 can be eliminated because that already takes out 2 answers. So now we're left with Sally and Bob, or Sally, comma, Bob.
Just keep 1 and take out 2.
Okay? Why do you say keep 1 and take 2 out?
Because you don't start then with Sally, Bob. You say Sally and Bob went to the grocery store. You don't say Sally, Bob went to the store.
Correct. You wouldn't say that in a sentence. But if my question is, what is the subject of the sentence?
Sally and Bob.
Number 2 is going to be correct because they're just looking for the names. This is where it can get really tricky. The word and is not part of the subject. So I know it sounds like a trick, and it is. It's kind of a trick that standardized tests use to gauge what you're paying most attention to. I was working with a friend of mine's son. He lives in Washington, and he's taking summer school. He's taking a class for summer school. And the question that was posed to him was, what is the first paragraph or part of a business letter? And then the options were 4 different things. 2 of those options weren't even close. But if you're looking at a business letter in parts, then it was one answer. If you're looking at it in paragraphs, it was another answer. But there was one place where it said part or paragraph in the materials that he was studying. So they use this to trick you into figuring out the best answer. I want you guys to start thinking about how you can find the best answer by eliminating the answers that you know are wrong and by defending the answers that you know are right. So it's a strategy that you can use. So the last example, so you're going to have 3 examples for your do now. Your last example has 1 subject and 2 verbs, but they have to, again, make sense. So Sally went to the grocery store and bought groceries. What's my verb there? Went.
Sally is the subject.
Okay. What? It's what you do when you first get in here.
Like where?
Yeah. The yellow sheet is over here.
Bought is your verb.
No.
Bought is also your verb. So you have 2 verbs with the same subject. So you're going to have 2 verbs in this instance with the same subject. You cannot, pay really close attention to this, you cannot have Sally went to the grocery store and Sally bought groceries. That's a different sentence structure.
What if it's 2 different Sallys?
If it's 2 different Sallys, then you need to name them, but that's still a different sentence structure. Yeah. And that's what we're going to do tomorrow. So I want you guys to practice with this because this is the simplest of the forms. So give me 3 sentences. They have to be complete sentences with a subject and a verb, and they have to make sense. So you have 1 subject, 1 verb, 2 subjects, 1 verb, 1 subject, 2 verbs. Hey guys, on your phones, put them away. And you should be working. So do that. So I'll give you a few more minutes to do this.
Hey, you got some, like a snack or something up in your candy, up in your dresser or something?
There's lots of snacks, but you need to be working.
I'm saying, I can't eat much
Well, then you can get some chips while you work, but grab your paper first.
I got the yellow paper.
Yeah.
I have the yellow paper already. We had the yellow paper from yesterday, right? That's the same paper.
You have a new one for today.
We write our own 3 sentences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you cannot use my sentences. Good point.
Alright.
Is that in the right corner? Because I know some people want in that corner and some people want in that corner.
It's in the correct corner.
And you want to turn around to you.
Not yet. You're gonna give them to me in a bit.
First thing we have to do early reading the time in this.
Mm-hmm.
Did I totally do that wrong?
No, not a lot of detail there, but that's
I know, but
a good start.
have it in
Yep.
my mind. And
You've gotta get those ideas out, and that's important. Good.
Can I take the novel home and read it?
No.
I can have it done in like 3 days. Maybe a day.
That will not work for your test.
Is it a bug that might be like a digital book I can find?
Maybe.
Or
That's
right
gross.
out of library?
Probably. Probably.
Quite yet.
Not yet. Gonna keep you hanging on your seat. Okay, so take a couple of minutes, finish this up. So I have this spreadsheet I have to do with attendance, and when people are absent, it's red. So your class is like bleeding today.
Well, I feel like we're just missing 3 people.
No.
There's that one girl that's kind of weird on the first day. The guy that's
Lemons, honestly.
Rose is like,
Okay.
You know what you should do? Give us an incentive to come to school every day for your class.
I do. They're called grades.
One of the grades.
That is my incentive. You want to pass? You want to be done? Here you go. So I tell my son all the time, that's your incentive for being in school. You don't have to be with me, and you get grades, and you'll get a car. So get out. Should be
graduation.
Yep. Give them a car for graduating high school, and I'm taking them anywhere in the world they want to go if they graduate from college with no kids or a spouse.
That's a
What if they
big
want to get
incentive.
married though?
And then they can get married, and I'm not taking them anywhere.
See, they can just be engaged for a very long period of time.
They can do that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do today and what we're going to get through. We didn't get through as much with your class last week, so we're actually going to push that over into this week. So we're going to look at what we're going to do through the calendar, and then we're going to talk about your vocabulary words before we do our rotations. Now, the rotations are going to be fairly simple. It's just going to be a couple of rotations, and we're going to focus a bit on novel reading. And I'm going to tell you why, I'm going to go over why, and I'm going to go over your calendar for that. So you guys are going to be reading for a period of time today. So be prepared for that. Pinch yourself to get yourself awake, whatever it is that you need to do. And I'm going to try a couple of different things with you guys with novel reading this week to see what's going to work best for you. And then you guys are going to be focusing a little bit on ancient Egypt. So you guys didn't get through Khafre and Khafre. You didn't get through them last week. So you're going to start with them. And then there's another section that hopefully you guys will be able to get to. And that section is about another Egyptian leader. But that Egyptian leader, the passage you have to annotate, but you don't get questions at the end. You just have to think about what it is that you want to pull from that, what is most significant. One of the things I explained to you guys last week, you get credit for your annotations. So if you have no annotations, that's 10 points off. The packets that you do are worth 50 points. So they're big packets and they're worth a lot of points. So make sure that you're annotating, make sure that you're answering the questions thoroughly. You're not just giving me words, you're giving me complete sentences, and they are going back to the document-based text. You can work with your groups, so you should be okay on working through those ideas. So let's talk a little bit about your calendar this week. There are two sides to this, and they are both for you, but I'm going to go over the second side here in just a minute. So let's focus on the calendar first. So what we're going to go through today is just ancient Egypt. We probably won't have time for the one-on-one because I do want to give you guys some time to read, and because half your class will be here, and I want to give you time to finish that ancient Egypt, or at least get a good start. The other group, they were able to start it last week, so they had a bit more time than you guys did, so I want to make sure you guys have plenty of time. So tomorrow we are going to do vocabulary words, and we're going to talk about rotations. So rotations tomorrow, you're going to be working on the packet, but you're also going to be working on reading the novel. And we're going to start talking a little bit about outlining. You guys are going to turn in your brainstorming today for your personal narrative. When you guys turn that in, I'm going to look over it and I'm going to make some notes on it. I'm giving you a grade on it, so you will get a grade. But I want to look at it and see what direction you're headed in. If you have any questions over it, we will talk about those when you hand them in, or we can talk about those at some point. Please do not interrupt your novel time, and please do not interrupt your packet time, because those times you can't get back. But you can talk to me at 4 o'clock, or you can talk to me at 3:45, but you can't get that time back. Alvin?
Like, what are you talking about the brainstorm? About the 720 words or something like that?
The paper that you're going to write, yeah, you guys had brainstorming that was due today. That was the first part of the exercise that was due today.
Was that Thursday?
Yeah, we went over that Thursday. Okay. So that's the first part of it. That's one step in the part of the process. So that's the pre-writing step. We're going to focus the rest of this week on the planning step. Luckily, we have the computer lab across the hall. It's open. So we're going to be able to go over there. We're going to be able to do a few things and then kind of rotate. So the rest of this week, we will focus a bit more on rotating, because I will have you guys in the computer lab working on a few concepts and a few ideas. So I'm going to have one group there, one group over here reading, or maybe somewhere else in the building reading, and then one group working on the world study stuff, the packet. Yes.
Can we read outside?
Probably not, because you'll get locked out, and they're not my books. But you can read in this, you probably read in this area. So let's talk about that. We are going to talk about pre-writing to planning, so how to take that cluster of stuff, how to take that list or whatever it is that you have, and how to organize that. So I'm going to show you guys some really neat techniques that you can use that will help you go, no, there's no way I can write about this. Or, oh, I've got a lot of stuff here. I'm going to have to eliminate some things, but I've got something good here. I'm going to have you develop ideas. So we're going to work on that the rest of this week, and we're going to work on the outline structure. So we're going to talk about those things as a whole class, but then we're going to go over in the computer lab as small groups, and I'll kind of rotate you guys around so I can work with every group individually. So you're going to have the next couple of days, you're going to be working in those groups over there as well. On Wednesday, you see that we have the rotations, and you see we have vocabulary. And then Thursday, you're going to see that you have vocabulary quiz, and then you have a novel quiz. So your novels are broken up in different formats. Some of you have chapters, some of you have sections. So I'm going to give you a quiz at the end of every Thursday. So if you turn to the back side.
Basically, the quiz is just going over like what we basically read about in the novels.
It is most of it is open-ended. Mm-hmm. So they're open-ended questions. So like the bottom half of your test, your vocabulary quizzes, where it asks you a question and you have to answer it with a complete sentence, that's what you're going to get.
Okay.
So for those of you reading The Outsiders, you guys are going to have a quiz this week, this Thursday, over chapters 1 through 3. So you have 3 chapters to get through before Thursday. Hatchet group, you have 4 chapters to get through. Knight and Easton, you guys have 2 sections to get through. Now that may not seem like a lot, but they're hard. Yours is amazing. I'm very excited about yours. This is a multi-genre piece, so I'm super pumped about it. So every Thursday, you guys are going to have a quiz. And then towards the end, you guys are going to get your project, and you're going to have a week to work on the project before the end of the term. So we have just a little bit of time left until the end of the term. So any questions over this novel reading?
By reading?
No. But I did get that for you, so you can read it on yours. Yeah, I have it for you.
What if we don't get
through the chapters?
yes,
Great question.
I'm like a very slow reader.
And many of you guys probably are.
I'm on
So,
page 5.
couple strategies. First of all, read. When I give you time to read, read. So today, during second hour, this is what happened. I said, okay guys, take the next 5 minutes to find a good place in your book to stop. I had like 5 people knocking each other down to get bookmarks to put their book up. And then they sat there. I had 2 students who sat there and finished where they were at. Those 2 students read an additional 5 pages in that 5 minutes that the other group, who were then complaining and saying, oh, I can't finish this, I can't finish this. Well, take the 5 minutes. Use the 5 minutes. The other part of this, you cannot take these books home, but you can use them during lunch. You can come in before school and use the book. I just need them for second hour as well. My second hour class is huge, so I need the books for second hour. So as long as I have them for second hour, if you have an A+ lab and you get done with your work early, or you have math and you get done with your work early, then you can read the book, as long as you come and talk to me at the beginning of the day. And I need it back at the end of the day. I'm going to take inventory of those so I make sure that I have all of those back. Another option. There's this really, really cool place a few blocks away called Library. They have these awesome things called books, and you can check them out. Like, they will actually let you take them and bring them back.
Where is the library?
It is on Main Street. Or Union, I'm sorry, Union.
So, right here, Lansing.
Yep. I love the place. It's
I
gorgeous.
go to the Y.
You do go to the Y? It's right behind it. You can just pop over there. It's cooler in there, like
The way.
Like, literally right around the corner, just walking
behind it.
right around
But the new Y?
the
Same place.
so it's not open yet.
Don't go to the vacant Y. It's not open. The other thing that you guys can do, if you have a device, you can use that for ebooks. Now, those typically cost. I have a student, his name is Richard McCoy, and he knows how to get them for a cheaper price. aka free. So, if you need to talk to him,
Oh, he's
talk
a
to him.
hacker.
If you have a thing at the library, you know, your membership, whatever,
Yep, if you have a card.
you can get on their thing and you can get ebooks for free.
Okay, good. So if you have an account with the library, then apparently you can you know things about the library, even though you say, oh.
Well, my mom asked me to get one so she can get ebooks.
Oh, your mom's smart. So you can download some ebooks from the library as well. You're going to have to figure it out. You're going to have to figure out how you're going to get through this. Some of you I know have kids that you have to get, you get them for lunch, so you may not have time during lunch. Okay? That means that you maybe need to come in a little earlier, stay after, or get the e-version of it. And when we're in here, you have to pay attention. So you're going to have to read while you have time in here. Okay, any questions over the schedule, the agenda? The last thing that I wanted to point out, and if you heard Mr. Nick talking earlier, we have these objectives listed. I want you to think of the objectives as your goals for the day, the things that you should know before you leave here. So if you want to test yourself and say, you know, do I understand these ideas? Did I get what I needed to get out of today's class? Then are you able to define terms? Well, we're getting ready to go over 2 terms that you should be able to use, so you can check that off. Are you able to describe ancient Egypt? Well, it doesn't have to be thorough. It doesn't have to be in a lot of detail, but if you can give some basics. The first section of what you're going to read talks about pyramids. So it focuses on pyramids and why they built pyramids. The second part of it focuses a little bit more on rulers. Now, even though he wasn't from Egypt, we did study another ruler. Who did we study? Hammurabi. So we looked at Hammurabi, we looked at his skills at killing people. Really, I mean, that's what he was good at. But his skills at being a leader. So now we're going to look at a couple of other leaders. These are Egyptian leaders, and then we're going to go into Cleopatra later this week. That will help us over the next couple of days as we start looking at gender roles and power. So if you can look through those, you'll be able to check those things off. Now we're going to get to predicting and inferring issues with the novel here in just a few minutes. But before we do that, I'm going to go over your vocabulary words, because these are words that you're going to be hearing a lot as we start going into building your paragraphs, building your papers, and creating really good document-based evidence. So the first one is the word evidence. So let's think about what evidence is. Now you don't have to tell me about your personal encounters with evidence.
I was just thinking CSI.
Okay? A lot of people do think of CSI because they build evidence in a case. So what is...
gather information.
Okay, what kind of information?
Like...
Proof, fact.
Okay? So as a synonym for the word evidence, we can use proof or support. So as we're thinking about the word evidence, we're thinking about proof that someone did or didn't do something. We're thinking that proof that someone is innocent or they're guilty of whatever it is. We can also be thinking about support for an idea. So when we're thinking about evidence, we want to think of proof or support. So how do we get evidence? What form is it in?
You said, how do we go about getting evidence?
How do you get it? Or what is
Little
it?
things
It's-
like the pencil.
Okay, so they're physical.
Yeah.
So physical evidence is like what?
Like interrogation and stuff?
That's not physical evidence.
Like, they
Like
found
if they,
a thing.
Physical is like shown evidence, ain't it?
yeah,
Like, it's basically
kind of
shown
like the murder weapon.
yeah.
Okay? So it's the stuff. It's anything that you can really hold in your hands.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Now interrogations are another form of evidence.
Verbal.
Verbal evidence. Good. So if you have a confession, if you have an interrogation that's been recorded, if you have someone who says, I saw this, an eyewitness, all of those accounts are verbal accounts. You can't dissect that piece of their brain and then play that on a recorder. Not yet. I'm sure science will get there someday. So another form of support or another form of evidence that we use are facts. And these facts come in with your next vocabulary word, the word statistics. So statistics are simply numerical facts. So statistics would be if I were to say 1 in 10 people lies. I'm sure that's a lot higher.
Yeah, that's probably one more.
9 in 10.
Yeah, 9.
10.
9
Everybody just go to line.
You're right.
Even white lies are lies.
So numerical facts can also be percentages. So if we said that 95% of people make up a lie on the spot, or make up a statistic on the spot, that is a statistic. So it's a numerical fact. So it's a different kind of evidence, but it is also a piece of evidence that we use, that is used to support ideas. So your two words today are evidence and statistics. Now tomorrow is going to get a little bit more complicated. Tomorrow we're going to have one word that's used in 2 different ways. So we're going to talk about one word that is used as a subject or a noun, and it's used as a verb. Any questions over your word for today?
Yeah.
Words? We get it? I'm recording, so I'm not just being weird and like. No other questions? Okay. So right now I want you and your group, I want you guys to talk a little bit more about your novel. So on the back side of this paper, some of you have started reading your novel and some of you have not. So Easton, this is going to be the point where you move up.
I know. Did that in-
So I want you to record what you think the end result is going to be in your story. So I don't want you to record where you're at in your story. I want you to think specifically about the end result. Remember, I also asked you guys to designate someone as the book getter. Okay. You need a secondary book getter.
You read the book, too.
Do what?
Book, too.
Yes, I read it with my son a while ago.
Really?
Yeah. Kelly, can you also grab that book that's read by yourself? Yes. Thank you. And a short book, is it?
It's so small, man.
It is. So when you finish that,
Maybe,
then you throw it
maybe I
on.
got the wrong one.
Or you just take them.
Because I started this word.
So some of them, the other students have marked their spots. I don't know if those are your bookmarks. You might want to write your name on it. So before you start reading, on the back side of your calendar, there's a box. The box is for you and your group members to discuss what you think the end result is going to be. So think about that storyline, that plot line, where we start out with the exposition, you have the rising action, the climax, the falling action, and then the resolution. What do you think the resolution is going to be? So in The Outsiders, yes, it's talking about gangs. What's going to happen to those? In Hatchet, yeah, it's talking about a boy in a plane crash. What's going to happen to it? In Night, it's talking about a man in the Holocaust. What's going to happen to it? Malcolm X, what's going to happen to it?
And I'm gonna totally mess you up, and I forgot I need you at that person. I forgot I moved it.
I know. This is your exercise, see? I don't want you to have to go to the Y. So as a group, I want you to talk about what you think that resolution is going to end up.
I've only gone through page 5.